Hey guys, welcome back to Wealthy AF, the podcast where we cut through the BS and teach you what it truly means to be wealthy AF. And today's guest is Dr. Angelo Valenti. He's a consulting psychologist in Nashville, Tennessee. He earned his bachelor's degree from Case Western Reserve University and his MS, which is master's, and PhD from the University of Georgia. He taught psychology at Oklahoma City University and worked as a consultant with RHR International before opening his own firm in 1982. His firm, The Company Psychologist, helps companies hire the right people for their cultures, develops talent within organizations, and coaches present and future leaders. He also coaches individuals who want to live their best personal and professional lives. Dr. Angelo, thank you for coming on, brother. Appreciate you.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Money is one of my favorite subjects, and today's topic is going to be the only problems money solve are money problems. So what does that statement, the only problem money solves are money problems, really mean to you?
What that means to me is that people have a distorted picture of the role of money in their lives. And can I tell you a story? It's actually from my book. My book, You're Making This Way Too Hard. I'm a car guy, and I make a decent living, so I've always had nice cars. Okay, So at the time of this story, I'm driving a Mercedes SL convertible. So I park it in the parking lot of a restaurant, and to get a pickup or to-go order. So I go into the restaurant. When I come out, there's a note on my windshield. And I'll preface it by saying my license plate on my car, every car I've had since 1991, is NJOYLFE, enjoy life. It's kind of my philosophy. Enjoy. We're only here once, so you might as well enjoy it. So there's this note on my car, and it said, I'd enjoy life too if I had millions in the bank and drove a $110,000 Mercedes. Well, when I read that note, I looked around, I didn't see anybody, but I would have loved to talk to that person and tell them that they had cause and effect backwards. I don't enjoy life because I have whatever stuff I have. I have whatever stuff I have because I enjoy life.
Powerful.
Money doesn't make people happy. If money made people happy, there wouldn't be so many psychiatrists in Beverly Hills.
What makes people happy is that. What does make people happy?
Striving, trying, seeking, doing something you love, being passionate about something. That's what makes people happy. Finding joy in the simple things in life. Some of the happiest people in the world are some of the poorest people.
Yes, sir. I know some of them.
Oh, me too. And conversely, since I consult with businesses, that's my main job, is consulting with businesses and business leaders. I see people who, by society's definition of success, they have money, they have status, they have nice things, but sometimes they're actively miserable. They're not enjoying the fruits of their labor. And I think they place too much emphasis on the trappings of success and not enough emphasis on the striving to be the best version of themselves. And the success is a byproduct of that. If you're doing something that you love and you get good at it, success will follow you. People will follow you. If you're doing something that you love, you're passionate about it, you're enthusiastic, you wake up every day, I can't wait to see what today brings. That's like a magnet. People are going to be drawn to you. People are going to be drawn to that energy and that enthusiasm. You see, the people that build great things are passionate about what they do. I think that regardless of the industry.
Can you give us an example of problems that money can and cannot solve? Because I am totally in agreement with you. I think we attract money based on our enthusiasm and what we think inside and our belief around money. Do I believe I deserve the best things? I believe I deserve the best things in life. It's just my mindset. And I enjoy it, and I just deserve the best things, so I can enjoy it and share it with my family and those people I love and care. Well, it's not even for me. It's just I can enjoy with the people around me.
I understand. And there's a very old saying that the world does owe you a living. You just have to work really hard to get it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's opportunities out there for everybody, but not everybody takes advantages of those opportunities. So the question you asked me was, what kinds of problems can money solve?
Yes. And cannot solve both.
And okay, money can solve where you're going to live, what you're going to eat, what you're going to drive, the basics of life. You have enough money, you can solve those basic issues. You can send your children to a decent school if that's what you want to do. You can go on nice vacations if that's what you want to do. The more money you have, the more choices you have. That's the main thing that money does, is it gives you choices. Okay, if you don't have much money, you can't choose always if you want to go out to eat somewhere, your options could be very limited if you don't have a lot of money. If you have all the money you need, you can go to any restaurant you want, pretty much anywhere in the world. So those are the kinds of problems that money can solve. If you're in a bad relationship, money is not going to make that relationship better. In fact, money issues are a big cause of divorce. And I would argue that money is a big cause of marriage. Also, if one person's looking out for a meal ticket from the other person, they can marry that person for the money. And I've seen many, many cases where if there's an economic downturn and the person who had a bunch of money all of a sudden doesn't have a bunch of money anymore, the spouse decides to take a hike because that's what they were in that relationship for. Having money's not going to make you a better person unless you use that money to help other people. Then it can make you a better person. It can make you a happier person and a more fulfilled person. But if you're just collecting money for the sake of having more money,
that's easy. That's easy to do. Anyone can do that.
Anybody can do that.
Anybody can do that.
You can make it and you can lose it real fast. In fact, the best way to make a small fortune is start with a big fortune. But if you don't get the satisfaction of using that money for something worthwhile, and it doesn't have to be a big philanthropic activity, if you're just helping the people in your neighborhood, if you're just helping your family to be the best that they can be, to have the most opportunities that they can have, that's a worthwhile use of your money. And there's an old Italian saying, being Italian, I can throw this one out. At the end of the game, the king and the pawn go in the same box. Right?
Powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful. Right. We all go in the same box. At the end of the day, we all go with what we come with. Nothing.
Yep. Nothing.
So, I'll share this quick story with you. I just left I'm in Florida. I live in Florida. And I have a second home in Pennsylvania. And my business is out of Pennsylvania. I own a lot of real estate in Pennsylvania. We just moved here. And I just went back there because we were in the middle of our biggest redevelopment. I was redeveloping a 12-unit apartment building. And my project manager quit 8 weeks before the project was done. So I had to go back to PA.
Yeah, the scrambles that you had.
Yeah, I had to do what I have to do. I'm an entrepreneur. So I have to go back, hire, look for a new hire, and at the same time manage the project and execute on the project. We had $1 million invested in this project, lenders, investors, and trying to get this project. So I'm down there, and my wife comes. I was there for 6 weeks. My wife comes the last 2 weeks, right? And we drove back, and she's like, "Hey, I looked at the camera in the house, and my brother was there with his in-laws and their grandchildren, so his nieces and nephews and stuff like that. And they were in our pool, hanging out in our pool." I was like, "Man, that's awesome." I got so excited, right? I was like, "That's freaking awesome," right? I was like, "That's awesome." I was like, I'm here working, but the whole point is that the things that we've got, that our family can enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm not there to enjoy the pool because I'm working, but it's okay. I'm just happy, and it fills my heart that my family and the people I care about are actually there enjoying it.
That is a terrific story, and that is the point. You hit the nail on the head.
I was like, That's awesome. I'm so happy. I'm so glad they're using it. Yeah, I'm not using it. I'm all the way here in Pennsylvania, right? I'm here working, doing what I have to do, right? Make sure that this thing goes the right way. And they're over there enjoying it, and it just filled my heart. So I think, to your point about money just, I heard Tony Robbins say this years ago at a Tony Robbins event I went to. He said, money just amplifies who you really are. It just amplifies who
that.
you really are. If you're a dirtbag, you're going to be a bigger dirtbag with money. You just have influence now. You're just going to be a bigger a-hole, right? It just is what it is.
Yeah.
If you're a kind person, a good, generous person, you like to share, you like to give, and it's going to amplify that. And it's when you with money, you're just going to be that amplified. You're going to be a kind, more generous person.
I agree with that completely. And to your point about your family using your swimming pool, there are people who would have made sure that the house was double locked and had a security guard
God, please,
around the house to make sure nobody got in the pool while they were gone. There are those people also, right?
Yeah, I can't even relate to that. Yeah.
Oh, me neither. And I'll tell you this just happened last month. My one of my wife's friends married well, let's say. Okay, she was a widow, and her now husband was divorced, and he made a good deal of money investing in companies over the years. He was in Seattle and bought a very nice yacht. So we got invited, my wife and I got invited to spend a week on this yacht. And it's a big yacht.
It's a monster.
It's 165 feet. Okay, it sleeps 10.
Big guy. It's a big guy.
It was he had eight people and the two of them, so that's 10 people and 12 crew. So 22 people on the boat altogether. The point I'm getting to is not that I spent time on this great yacht, is that the gentleman and the wife who owned that yacht were so excited to share that with the people that they invited. It was not a braggadocious thing at all. They were just excited for us to be able to share that with them. They were very humble about it. In fact, I took a bunch of pictures because, this was so far for me a first-time experience. I'm 75 years old, so you can still have new experiences sometimes, I guess. So I took a bunch of pictures, and I texted the lady, and I said, I took a bunch of pictures on the trip. I'd like to post them on social media, but I'm not going to do it without your permission. And she said, please don't post any pictures of the boat unless you take the name off the boat. And I said, I'm going to do you one better. I'm not going to post anything.
There you go.
So I didn't post anything, and it took all the self-control I had because this was a tremendous experience.
Yeah.
My wife and I did make a little video off the back of the boat that I posted on social media, but you couldn't see anything. All you could see was water and the shoreline. But they were just so gracious and generous and had more fun sharing it. Yes, than we did.
Yeah, sharing it. And I think that's the whole point of money, right? Like, hey, money doesn't buy you happiness, but it just gets you experiences, and it gives you the opportunity to share it with people that you care about and create memories. Right. Like for me, that's what I use money for, to create even more beautiful memories with my family and my friends and the people I care about.
Yeah.
This is all together.
And when I'm doing speeches or talking with people, and I say, I want you to think back 10 years ago. Can you tell me something really cool or really expensive that you bought for yourself 10 years ago? And most people are going to say, can't remember. Can you remember a trip you took with a loved one or with your family that you took 10 years ago? And they say, oh yeah, we went to Yellowstone National Park and we hiked and we did this and we did that. They can tell you who they were with. They can tell you where they went. They can tell you where they stayed. They can tell you where they ate. They can tell you everything about that trip. The trip probably cost less than the expensive thing, whatever the expensive thing they bought 10 years ago, but the memory lasts forever, and you probably don't even have the thing that they bought 10 years ago. So you can buy, you mentioned buying memories is much more important than buying stuff.
100%. Because when I'm gone, that's my legacy. I think that's my legacy. That's part of my legacy. Hey, I'm gone, but we went here, we went there, we did this, we did that, we went skiing, we could laugh, they could laugh about those things, and we did all these wonderful things together. That's the
Yes.
point.
And that's what your children are going to tell their children and their grandchildren. Those are the things that are going to be passed down. There's another saying that a person really dies twice. They die when they die physically, and they die again when the last person talks about them. They're not talked about anymore. They die again. And if you're creating those memories, your legacy lives on.
That's really, really wise counsel. Really wise counsel. I want us to get into a little bit of coaching here, Doc.
Sure.
Let's talk to those people that have that low money thermostat, right? That low setting in their thermostat as it pertains to money. You know, you have people that are out there that might be thinking, you know, I work hard and that's all they know. I grew up that way. That's what I was taught. You work hard. The harder you work, the more money you make. That's the only way you got ahead. That's not true. You got to work hard on the right thing.
Right.
Right? Because if I'm working hard at McDonald's, I'm not gonna really get too far. Let's just be honest. Nothing against McDonald's workers, but you're not gonna get wealthy. You're not gonna create wealth or get rich. What advice are you telling someone that might be struggling today and is thinking, I need to get ahead. I love to create those memories with my family, but we're barely making enough to get by. What should we do? What should that couple do to start having a brighter future?
Well, it can be a difficult kind of, I don't want to say trap. It can be a difficult rut to work yourself out of, because you're right. Most of us are taught to, we're trading our time for dollars. Basically, you're trading, if you're working an hourly wage, or even if you're working a salary, you're trading your time and your expertise for that salary. And the people that have that mindset, you can make a living doing that. You can't scale that, right? You can't do more than nobody's going to work more than 80, even if you're working 80 or 100 hours a week, which some people do, but it's really hard to keep that up for very long. You can't get rich. You can't get wealthy doing that. You can make a nice salary and you can have a decent life. You can buy a decent house and you can buy a decent car and you could send your kids to a decent school. But money's always going to be of primary importance because there's only so much of it that you can make. And when I'm coaching people, I tell them you need to think about what value you can create for other people instead of how hard can you work to make this much money. If you think in terms of what can I do, what skills, what talents do I have that create value in another person's life, that changes your mindset, because you can create, if what you can do creates value in enough people's lives, then you can charge more for creating that value. Okay, you're going from selling really a tangible product, which is your labor, to an intangible. You're creating an emotion. And if you can create a positive emotion in people, why do singers make so much money? Because the songs that they create, that they sing and that they write, create an emotional connection with a person. And people listen to that music because it makes them feel a certain way. And I live in Nashville, and let me tell you, you can't walk 10 feet without bumping into a songwriter.
You got great music in Nashville, that's sure.
Yes, we do, for sure. But, the difference really between a songwriter that becomes very successful and one who's just getting by is the emotional connection that they can create in people. And that's why people will spend God knows how much money to go see Taylor Swift all over the world, because she is able to create an emotional connection with people. And people who are great in sales, I'm sure you know great salespeople. Great salespeople, are the great salespeople the ones that know the product the best?
They're probably the ones that know that least. They probably know
the least. They know the product the least, but they know what creates that emotional connection in their customer or their prospect. They know that the best.
They know how to build rapport.
They can build
really well. They know how to emotionally connect with people.
Those customers want to do business with them. They want. I'm sure there are favorite places that you like to go to shop or to eat. And one of the reasons it's a favorite place is that there's somebody in that location that you really like, that you have a connection with. And you'll go out of your way to go that place as opposed to the same store closer to where you live just because you like interacting with that person. Well, that's how if you want to get wealthy, first of all, find something that you're passionate about, that you love to do, and figure out a way for that thing to create an emotional connection in other people.
Emotional connection. How can we shift? Because we have different relationships as it pertains to emotional relationship as it pertains to money. Like I'll share the story with you. I went to a workshop many years ago, Millionaire Mind Intensive Workshop by T. Harv Eker. I don't know if you know the author, The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. It's a book he wrote. That's how I found out about this. And he has this workshop that's where I learned the language. Hey, all of us have an internal thermometer, a thermostat as it pertains to money. This is why people that win the lottery within 5 years, they're broke again because of thermostat. And they did this thing, Doc, right? They did this thing where it was a really interesting dynamic. And I learned something really powerful about myself. And they put hundreds of pennies in this room. So they were in a hotel room and they just threw hundreds of pennies in the floor. And they said, okay, guys, we're now going to we're going to put a timer, whatever the time was at 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and pick up as many pennies as you can pick up, right? And they put this timer and the whole room got up and we were all picking up pennies. And, some of us are very competitive. I'm very competitive. I'm trying to pick up as many pennies as I can, right? Because I'm thinking there's going to be something about who gets the most pennies. I remember my wife and my daughter, I took my daughter to this event with me. And I'm picking up pennies. And the time, he goes, time, stop. And I'm still picking up pennies. And he said, stop. And then he said, okay, everybody sit down. And he said, okay, how many of you were still picking up pennies after I said stop? And I was like,
there were a few of you. You weren't the only one.
I wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
There was a few of us. Right. We're still picking up pennies. And he says, that just says a lot about your relationship with money and your integrity around it. And I was like, oh, shit. If it stopped, it stopped. Why were you still picking up pennies after we told you to stop? But that was one of the lessons, my relationship with money. It was at all costs. It didn't matter the rules, and I would get the money no matter the rules. Man, what a lesson I learned there. Then I learned another lesson, which was about respecting money, right? That same thing that I learned was about respecting money. Hey, money will come to you if you have to respect money, right? Like it's like anything else. If you just throw it away and you don't respect it and you don't care and you're not diligent with your money or respect a little bit, it's gonna shy away from you. So from there, I also learned, Doc, that whenever I see a penny, so I buy a lot of real estate, and I bought it. I told you about this 12 unit. I bought this 12 unit full of rats, right? And I told the guys we went through 20 40-yard dumpsters just of garbage, right? And I told the guys, I don't care about anything in the building, but any pennies or any money you find, that's mine. You can take anything there. But if you find a penny on the floor, you find a piggy bank, you put it in a corner for me, you pick it up, you put it in jars for me. And that's mine. Anything else, I don't care about. You could take sofas, you could take the speakers. I do not care about junk. I don't want more junk. I don't need more junk. But any money, don't throw out my money. All right? Don't throw out my money. I learned the lesson there about respecting money. I learned the lesson whenever I see a penny, now I pick it up. And it's this attitude of gratitude. I don't ever walk away from a penny or this or that, or people leave change. And I never walk away. It was just something I learned from then about just my relationship with money. How can people change their relationship with money, Doc? My question is, how can people change their relationship with money? Some people have negative emotions around money because they don't have any. I used to be that. I didn't have much money, so it was a negative emotion. Like whenever the money topic came up, I didn't want to talk about it because I was in debt or I was this or I was making bad decisions. So how do we change our emotional state around money? Because I believe that our emotional state and relationship with money has an impact on whether we attract it or how well we are with our money.
Well, I think you mentioned something really important, the emotional relationship with money. I think you need to look at money as a tool, as a byproduct of doing something that you love and doing it well. And people look at, if I just had, you mentioned the lottery. If I just had an extra 10 grand or 20 grand or 100,000 grand or $1 million, everything would be better. And everything's not going to be better until you get better. And I think if people aren't taught this, in fact, it's educated out of most people to do something that they love, that they're passionate about, and get good at it. It doesn't matter what it is. The top 1 or 2% in every profession, they do fine money-wise. It's most of us aren't in that top 1 or 2%, right? So if you're looking at money as the solution to your problem, you're going to be chasing it, and you're going to make bad decisions to get rich quick. And playing the lottery is a tax on stupid people, I think.
I agree. I think gambling the same way, but respect to those of you that gamble. I don't gamble.
Sure.
I don't touch those machines. I want to own the machines. I want to own the locations. I don't want to be the guy putting money in the machines. I want to be the guy that owns the real estate and owns the business.
Right. Yeah. You want to own the convenience store where they're buying the lottery tickets.
Right.
That's a better bet.
Yeah.
But, if you think a 300 million to 1 shot is a good shot, God bless you. But, you might as well just throw it away. You'd be better off literally putting it in a savings account at 1 or 2%. At least at the end of the month, you'd have, let's say you bet $20 on the lottery, you'd have $20.40 at the end of the month instead of having nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So if you look at money as a byproduct of doing something that you love, that's the way you change your mindset. Money, if you think money's going to solve whatever situation you're in, it might solve it temporarily, but chances are, as you said, you're going to be right back in that situation. There's a thought experiment that I'm sure you've heard of it. If I gave 10 people at random $100,000, just 10 random people, adults out on the street, and gave them $100,000, 5 or 6 of those people would take that money and just pay off their whatever debts they had, and then they'd be back to zero. Which is a good place, which is okay. That's a good place.
Better than negative. It's better than negative.
Oh, yes.
For sure.
It is. And 1 or 2 of those people would blow it on something stupid. And 1 or 2 of those people would use it to invest in a business or build a business or grow something or invest in stocks or bonds or mutual funds or something with the intention of growing that business. So maybe 10% of the people would do it. And these are people at random from all walks of life. You give $100,000 to a very wealthy person, they're probably going to invest it in their business. You give $100,000 to a person who's just starting their business, they aren't wealthy. They may have mortgaged their home to start this business. You give them $100,000, they're going to put it in their business. You give somebody who's $100,000 in debt, you give them $100,000, they may or may not pay off that debt. Then they're starting at zero, but I promise you in another year, they're going to be $100,000 in debt again. Okay? Because they don't understand the power of using money to build a lifestyle, to build a business, to build something bigger than themselves. And often they haven't been taught that. They haven't been around that. And schools do not teach that. Schools do not teach. I think there should be a class in the 8th grade on entrepreneurship or on business finance or marketing or sales or something to teach people about business, teach them about money, teach them how to balance a checkbook, teach them what credit card debt really does to people. Did you learn that in school? I sure didn't.
I got to tell you on that, I'm glad you brought that up. I had Senator Marty Flynn on this podcast a couple months ago out of Pennsylvania. And he voted for a bill that got passed, by the way, that it was a requirement in the state of Pennsylvania for students to graduate high school. They had to go through like a financial money management course. And
yes,
we kind of went back and forth a little bit, him and I, and he's a Democrat. And he told me, I was actually applauding him for voting on that bill and telling him what an amazing thing that he did that, because we need that. Kids need to be taught something about finances in school. And he told me, and you guys can listen, if you guys are listening, you guys can go back to that episode. I don't remember the episode number. We split it into 2. But he told me that his party, because it was not a a Democratic written bill. It was not written by Democrats. It was written by the opposing party. His party gave him shit about it, that he took so much slack, so much heat for voting for this bill that would empower young people, or that would mandate young people to have this financial literacy before they graduated high school. But because there's so much division in politics that even if it's good, because it was written by the opposing party, they're voting against it, right? And I was actually commending him, and I was celebrating him and telling him, great job, despite the heat you got, despite that you still stood up for something you knew was the right thing to do and the best thing for the future of our country, right? Because this improves everybody. It improves the future of our country. And but there is a problem, a systemic problem in our system, where we're not teaching our children about money, where we're not, and I don't know if that's intentional. I don't understand it.
Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, or I'm cynical, because
I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
But I do think it's intentional. I think a population that's ignorant is easier to control. A population that's informed is harder to control. And I'll give you an example. In the 1930s, payroll deduction of your income taxes came into being. You're self-employed, I assume.
Yeah.
I'm self-employed. Every quarter, we got to write a check to the government, right?
We do.
Yes, we do. Whether we want to or not. But we know how much we're sending to the government. People who get their taxes taken out of their paycheck have no idea. Who reads their pay stub? Almost nobody, I'm guessing. Right? So the money it's taken out of their paycheck, it gets sent to the federal government, and then when they do their taxes, they get some money back, and they get all excited because they got a refund. When basically they gave the government a free loan.
Yeah.
And the government's just giving them some of that money back. I think if you wanted to start an economic revolution in this country, make everybody pay quarterly estimates so that they knew where their money was actually going, how much money was actually going to the government. And they'd be very irritated about it, like you are every quarter and like I am every.
Well, I'll share that with you because, again, financial education, right? And this has nothing to do with politics. I'm just a real estate guy. I'm just a real estate guy, business guy. So listeners, this has nothing to do with politics. You guys know who I am and what I do. I'm a real estate investor. So people gave, if you remember a few years ago, were giving shit about Trump not paying taxes. But the thing is, he had the education on how to use the tax system to his benefit. That's all he did. So I just bought like I told you about this 12-unit redevelopment project we just finished. I am doing what's called a cost segregation study. So I send it to my CPA. My CPA said, yeah, this is a go. Yeah, I'm going to get $400,000. This is legally. So I'm saying this publicly because...
I get it.
Cost segregation study. It's costing me $6,000. So guys, listen up. This thing's costing me $6,000 to do a cost seg study. That means I take accelerated depreciation on this asset I bought. I put $700,000 into this building, and now I'm going to get $400,000 back in tax credits. That's not the proper language. I don't know. That's what I call it. My accountant tells me it's not credits, it's whatever. I get to take, if I have a $100,000 bill on my taxes, I get to take $100,000 from that $400,000 and say, hey, here, use that to bring me down to zero. Hey, and then the rest rolls over to the next year if I want to use it for next year. And if I don't want to use it, I don't. So these are the things that most people don't know, right? Don't know how to do, right? And guys like myself that got the information, or guys like Trump that got the information, now use, right? Because we're using what the government wants us to do. They want us to create housing, and they're giving us tax incentives. And I'm doing it all legally.
Of course it's legal. And you would be stupid if you didn't do it.
Thank you.
Right?
Right?
So, I mean, you can't fix stupid, but what the problem that we've gotten so divisive and political, and it's all theater, in my opinion, that everybody likes to talk about taxing the rich. Well, the rich didn't get rich by being stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And the tax laws have been written for over 100 years in such a way to reward your friends and punish your enemies. And rich people have much smarter people working for them than the government has working for the government. So they're always going to come up with ways to work around whatever tax law Congress passes, because Congress has to pass laws in such a way that their friends get rewarded. If you wanted to have a fair tax system,
It just makes sense.
Have a 15% flat tax, and everybody just pays 15% off the top. Doesn't matter how much you make.
Mm-hmm.
And the rich are going to pay a lot more because their 15% is going to be a lot more.
Bigger pie.
Your 15% or my 15%.
Mm-hmm.
But that, that'll never happen, because it'll put all the accountants out of business, and it'll put all the tax lawyers out of business, and it'll put all the Congress people who use the tax law to benefit certain groups over other groups. They can't get rich doing that because nobody's going to pay them to rewrite the tax law like happens now. So I've been a flat tax or a fair tax advocate for a long time,
mm-hmm.
because the fair tax or consumption tax is an even better tax, because you can collect money from people who are making a lot of money illegally right now.
Mm-hmm.
Drug cartels, people, organized crime, things like that. They have to buy things too, and you can get a tax on when they buy things where you're not getting any tax from them at all right now.
And they got smart people working for them too.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. And there's very little difference between the two groups of smart people.
Yeah. 100%. Hey, Doc, so does the pursuit of wealth inevitably lead to a decline in moral values?
No. If you're a moral, ethical person at the start of your journey, I mean, it could corrupt you, I suppose, and it does corrupt some people. But I know some of the wealthiest people I know, and I'm fortunate. Like I said, I consult with businesses, so I rub shoulders with a couple of billionaires, and they're the most generous, philanthropic people, ethical people. They'll go the extra mile if it costs them money. If there's a gray area, and one way would get them, it might be a little bit shady when it comes to ethics or morals or legality. They'll bend over backwards to do it the other way, just the right way, so as not to create even the hint of an appearance of anything unethical. So I think if you're dishonest, immoral, unethical when you're poor, you're going to be dishonest, immoral, unethical when you're rich.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing it in a better house and in a better car, but you're not going to be a better person. And like I said, some of the most generous people you'll ever meet are the poorest people. There are people out there, if they only have $5 in their pocket, and you came up to them and you said, "Man, something happened, or I'm in a bad situation. Do you have any kind of money at all that could help me out?" They'll give you the last $5 that they have.
Yeah, I know.
Because they're a good person and they understand what it means to be in need. So no, I don't think you lose your moral compass when you get wealthy if you had a moral compass to begin with.
I agree. There's just a group of people, there's a segment of the population that believe that rich people are bad and rich people are this and rich people are that. I think those people, and for a short period of time in my life, I think I kind of bought into that. I kind of bought into that victim for a little short time in my life. I remember struggling. Why do these people have so much money? And I was asking the wrong questions. We should have all equal. I think, there's a saying, when you're young, it's okay. When you don't have anything, it's okay to be, you have those thoughts of socialism. No, let's just everybody be the same, because you ain't got shit. You ain't earned nothing yet.
Right.
Right? But as you get older, you worked for it and you've earned it. And you say, wait a minute, you too can do this if you just work hard and learn and educate yourself, right? You too can do this. But for a little short stint in my life, I kind of bought into that ideology. But there's a group out there that think that rich people are bad and that rich people are this and they shouldn't, and why do they have this and why do they have that person that wrote you the note. I'd be happy too if I had
stuff. I had money if I had money in a car.
The car doesn't make me happy. The car if a person is miserable, they're just gonna be miserable in their $100,000 car. that's
Right.
miserable.
Right.
in
They'll be crying. They'll just be crying in a better car.
Yeah, that's all. That's all it is. The car doesn't make me happier. Yeah, it's life is a little bit easier because now I don't have to worry about the basic needs, but it doesn't really make me happy. This is my last question for you, my friend. Where would you recommend someone starts if they're unhappy and they got to work on themselves first? Where should they start? What strategy could we give them? What's the one thing they can do to start working on themselves to be happier?
This is the simplest thing that they can do, that they can start today. And that is start a gratitude journal. Write down every day 3 things that you're grateful for, no matter how small they are. When you get to be my age, the first thing I'm grateful for is if I get up out of bed in the morning and nothing hurts.
That's a good thing.
And when you get old, man, that ain't always the case. Or I saw a beautiful sunrise, or I did better at something. If I took a walk and I was able to walk a little faster, or I saw deer or a coyote or an eagle or something, just simple things. The smell of a flower, petting a puppy, doing anything simple. Find things that you're grateful for every day. And if you start looking for things to be grateful for, you'll find that they're all around you. Let's say you're a little bit agitated with your spouse. If you wake up in the morning with the attitude, I have a spouse, I have somebody love me enough to marry me, that's something to be grateful for.
Right.
And it might change how you interact with your spouse. Instead of looking at your spouse with resentment or aggravation, start looking at your spouse with gratitude and recognize that there were good qualities in that person that made you want to marry that person. Rekindle those good things. So find gratitude in your little things in life. Find gratitude in your relationships that you have. Maybe you don't have as many friends as you'd like. Take gratitude in the friends that you do have. Be thankful for them. And if you approach life, instead of saying, I have to go to work this morning, say, I get to go to work this morning, right? I have to pay my bills. I get to pay my bills. I'm alive. I get to do all these things. There's always, as long as you're alive and kicking and trying, you have an opportunity to improve your life. And the way to is if you start looking for the good or looking for the positive in life instead of constantly dwelling on the negative, that's a good first step. It's got to be consistent about it. You got to do it consistently. Stay with it.
So glad you mentioned that. I have literally a gratitude journal I write every morning.
Perfect.
And
good for you.
It's I'll share it with you. Gratitude every morning. Top 3 things I'm grateful for.
Kudos to you.
Every morning, which is exactly that. What does that do to the brain when you start to do that every day?
It reprograms your brain, because your brain can't hold 2 opposite thoughts at the same time. Okay. So when you're dwelling on the negative, you're filling your brain basically with garbage. And if you think positive thoughts for it, I'll give you an example. Did you play sports growing up?
Yes.
What sport?
Basketball.
Played basketball. Okay. So in any sport, I didn't play basketball. I was terrible at basketball, but I was good in football and I was good in baseball. If you tell a pitcher in baseball, I'm sure you played sports.
I played baseball.
Okay. So if you tell your pitcher, don't throw any balls, what's the message that all the brain hears is balls?
Throw balls. That's
right.
It deletes the don't.
You gotta say throw strikes.
Yeah.
Or don't. You can't say don't pitch this guy inside. All you're thinking of is inside.
Inside. Yep.
And you got to throw it outside to this guy. Always positive. You frame your thoughts in a positive way, because that's what your brain will process. If I tell you, don't think about elephants.
Big elephants immediately. Don't think about
the only thing you're going to be thinking
a green
right?
giraffe. What do you see? Don't think about a green giraffe. What do you see? Boom.
Right.
Is what I told. I literally told my team the other day, because I had my executive assistant texting me. Don't forget to Don't forget to do this. Don't forget you have a meeting. And I'm like, Kat, I had to get on a call with her. I said, okay, guys, whenever you want someone to remember something, you tell them, remember to boop, boop.
Yes.
You don't say don't forget, because what you're
Don't
telling
forget.
the unconscious mind is to forget. You want someone
Yes.
to remember something, you tell them, remember to do XYZ. Remember to do
Yes.
XYZ. You don't tell them, don't forget to.
Get rid of the don'ts. Frame things in a positive way.
So, Doc, if people wanted to get a hold of you, they wanted to connect with you on social, how do they find you? Where do they connect with you? People wanted to just bring you on as a coach, or they wanted to bring you on to improve their culture. They wanted to hire your company. How do they do that, and where do they find you?
Well, there's a few ways. My consulting website is thecompanypsychologist.com. My author website is angelovalenti.com. In either case, you can book a discovery call with me to see how we might work together by going to reachangelo.com. Very simple. I'm on LinkedIn, Angelo Valenti, PhD. I'm on Instagram, Angelo Valenti, author. Facebook. Just started posting on TikTok and X. Not very much. But the best way, really, if you really wanted to find me, just book a discovery call at reachangelo.com. And please read my book, You're Making This Way Too Hard. Find Your Easy Way to Enjoy Life, and it's available on Amazon. There it is right there.
There it is. You're Making This Way Too Hard. Find your easy way to enjoy life. Are you on Audible?
Yes, I actually went in the studio in January and recorded it myself. So it is, there's an Audible version of the book, and it's funny. It's a short read. It's a short listen, but you'll come up with 3 or 4 things that'll stick with you the rest of your life.
I'll pick it up. I'm going to listen to it myself on Audible. I'll pick it up. I'll make sure I pick it up. Thank you, sir. I really, really appreciate you, Doc.
Oh, thanks for having me. This has been a really fun and I hope informative episode, because people need to learn more about money for sure.
Yes, they do. Thank you so much, sir. Really, really appreciate you, my friend.